I recently became a full-time reseller with a goal to generate $1,000 per week in profit after eBay fees and income tax. This week, we're hitting some thrift stores. I show you everything that's sold on eBay, and then I'm starting a new video game collecting challenge that I can't wait to dive into. Let's go. So let's get into these 13 items that sold over the weekend. And up first, I've got this pair of 1951 wool field trousers, like military wool pants, picked up for $15 from a garage sale and sold for $40 plus shipping. Sold those within about a week of listing them. Picked up this Splatterhouse game. I paid up for it a little bit, so it wasn't like a total, steal or anything. But I paid $15 from a garage sale, so they kind of knew what it was. And sold it for $40 plus shipping. Picked up this Radica Scanners handheld. It's from 2000. It comes with these little like monster cards. Scan them and then they do something on the screen. I don't know exactly what it does, but it works. And I have a couple bucks into this from an estate sale. I picked up a huge lot of toys like this and some Power Rangers and sold it for $54 plus shipping on an offer. Picked up this leather jacket. It's from Lucky Brand. It's called the Bonneville Racer. Paid $25 for this from a thrift store and sold it within about 2 weeks for $135 plus shipping. So a very nice one there. Picked up this Powerpuff Girls backpack from 2000 for $2 from a garage sale and sold it for $35 plus shipping. Paid $5 for this New York Giants jersey from a garage sale. Sold it very fast for $40 plus shipping. It's one of the nicer ones with the embroidered numbers. I would probably pass, unless they were like really cheap, I would probably pass on the ones that have the printed numbers. They sell for like 20 to 25. This is like the right time of year for it, like in season and everything. But for the printed numbers, yeah, I'd have to get them at like definitely $5 or less to make those worth it, because they're just not as desirable as the ones with the embroidered numbers, obviously. Paid $5 after the discount at a thrift store for this Marmot full zip jacket. Sold it for $23 plus shipping. Sold another Department 56 building. Picked up a huge lot of these for $5 a piece at a garage sale. Been selling through them slowly. Hopefully we can get through them by the time Christmas rolls around. But sold, this is Scrooge and Marley's Counting House. Sold it for $25 plus shipping. Sold a Littlest Pet Shop figure. So last week I've been selling through a bunch of Littlest Pet Shop stuff from a big lot I picked up. And this was just kind of in there. I'm already way in the profit on that big bin. I paid $20 for a bunch of stuff. And so I'm kind of calling this like free. I sold it for $13.50 plus shipping. Sold this vintage 1980s Prince tennis bag. Paid $6 from a thrift store. It took a while to sell, but ultimately sold it for $63 plus shipping. I'll save the best item for last. Next up, sold this pair of Levi's 505s, paid $5 from a garage sale, sold for $15 plus shipping. Got to get these really cheap going forward. I mentioned this last week too, but I thought these would be a little bit better. I know like modern, like vintage Levi's are very, very valuable, but modern Levi's, like you gotta assume like 15 to 20 bucks. So you really don't want to be paying more than a couple dollars for them. Definitely a good garage sale pickup, not a good thrift store pickup. Picked up these Hunter boots for $10 from a garage sale, sold them very fast for $45 plus shipping. And then the best item this week, probably will be the best item this week, but the best item this weekend, picked this up. I have about, I paid $70 for the lot, and I sold a Power Ranger action figure out of the lot for $200 like 2 weeks ago. It's from Power Rangers Time Force. Call it like 30 bucks I have into this one. This is the Time Force Deluxe Quantasaurus Rex. I don't even have the remote, but I do have the box. So I think that's what's making this really special. It's obviously rare to begin with, but the fact that it has the box is making it extra special. Sold this for $250 plus $25 shipping. So very, very nice one there. And if you missed last week's video, I completed my 100 game N64 collection, and it was an absolute blast. I have that all in a playlist if you want to go check it out. It took me a very long time to get the funds to actually be able to purchase all of them. And kind of the game I was playing with myself was I could use up to 10% of the profits I make on eBay to buy games for the collection. I kind of teased last week what the new challenge was going to be, and I'm officially starting it this week, right now, today. The new challenge, I'm very excited. I'm calling it Operation Advance. One of my fondest memories with the Game Boy Advance actually is it must have been right when Ruby and Sapphire came out. So I don't know what year that was. 2002. So Ruby and Sapphire came out in 2002. So I definitely had a Game Boy Advance in 2002 because it must have been pretty new at the time. I remember we were going on a family vacation and driving to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania from New Jersey. And we're going to be stuck in the car for like 3 or 4 hours. And my parents said, hey, you know what? Stop at GameStop. You can pick up a game for your Game Boy Advance. My brother got a copy of Pokemon Ruby and I got a copy of Pokemon Sapphire. And by the time we got to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, I had like 3 gym badges. My brother didn't quite have the concentration that I had, so he had 1 or 2, I think, by the time we got there. And I remember being in the hotel room doing a Pokemon battle with the Pokemon that we had trained up to that point. So that was a really, really fun time, and that's a good memory that I have of that console. And then in the years since, it's just a console I go back to all the time. The games are so good. I replay Metroid Fusion all the time. I replay Metroid Zero Mission. Probably the game that's at the top of my list for most time sunk into is Pokemon Emerald. I probably had a couple 100 hours into that game just with like the Battle Frontier and all that stuff. But since then, I don't have those games anymore. I have Game Boys and I have a flash cart, but I really, really want to collect the actual physical cartridges of a lot of those games. And, there's a ton of games on that for that console that I've never played before that look awesome. So I'm really excited to actually have physical copies of those games and get a chance to play them. Yeah, and I'm just excited to like explore this console that I have just a lot of love for and really have only experienced like a very small percentage of what it has to offer. So I hope you're excited for it too. And my plan is at the end of every week to add at least 1 game to the collection. That is my goal, to add 1 game a week. So stick around for that.
Now, time to hit the thrift. My wife pulled out this painted owl that I would have 100% missed. It wound up being a painted Fenton piece with sold comps around $100 to $150. I also pulled out a couple of clothing items. I paid just $2 for this Dallas Cowboy sweater. Red was discounted today. That should be about $20 or so. But for $12, I also found this Major League Gaming hoodie from Nike with comps around $60.
All right, so good morning. Today is Wednesday, and I've got 7 more things that have sold since Monday. And before I jump into those, we are back with another Wednesday Weird and Wacky Bolo. The brand is called Fenton, and I found a couple of lower end pieces. There's some things to look for. It's a very desirable brand. You always kind of want to do your research and look the items up. The sell-through rate can be kind of slow for, the lower end stuff. But there are some items that are crazy, crazy valuable. Because Fenton, and I am not an expert, but again, just kind of give you some things to look out for. So first is this uranium glass style. So it's hard to tell in person, but generally, they have this like greenish tint to them. But when you put it under a black light, if you've ever seen anybody walking around a thrift store with a black light, like shining on stuff, that's what they're looking for, is this uranium glass, because it actually reacts and it glows under a black light. It's got this very distinct look about it. So again, just kind of showing some comps as we go through here, but somebody sold this uranium. It's called Mask of Pain. Kind of scary. $1,800 they got for that. Let's try and find another uranium piece. We've got this Ghost. I don't know the era because Fenton's been making stuff for like 100 years or more, I think. They've been around a long time. Yeah, and they have these stickers you can find on them. These little like oval stickers that will have the name. If the sticker is missing, it is a little bit hard to verify. Sometimes they will be signed if they're like hand painted pieces or whatever. But yeah, this uranium Fenton Ghost, somebody got $980 for that. And there's another uranium figure, this koi fish, $900. Besides that, let's show some other ones. So there's this, this kind of like pinched, I don't know what you call it, but it's like almost like the pinched edges. That kind of signals Fenton as well. Somebody got this glass plum piece, $1,400. So this style should be a signal that it's Fenton as well as this like almost like matte finish on a piece. It's called custard glass, I believe. And again, they're normally like hand painted to some degree. Somebody got $1,000 for this vase and bell combo. Here's another, looks like a custard glass piece, like hand painted with like this church design on it. Somebody got $800 for that. If you see something hobnailed, that, not always, but a lot of times is Fenton as well. Someone got, for this pastel blue planter box with this hobnail pattern, they got $385. We've got another hobnail milk glass bowl for $175. And yeah, they're actually like pretty good, valuable, desirable stuff. So there you go. That was Wednesday's Weird and Wacky BOLO. And now let's jump into the 7 things that sold since Monday. And up first, I actually sold a lot of Playmobil stuff on Facebook Marketplace. Bought a big lot of this at a Goodwill maybe like 6 months ago. Counted one set and it was almost complete. Kind of put it on the back burner just as, you know, my pile started growing and kind of fell to the back burner and decided I didn't really want to count everything. And it was some big boxes. It's like, you know, actually had the cardboard boxes to some of the sets and they would have been pretty expensive to ship. So I decided to just list it locally. I had about $60 into all of it. 60 into it, sold it for $120 cash. So $60 profit on that one. And now on eBay, we also sold 6 items. So up first, I've got this Mickey and Minnie Christmas window display, little Christmas decoration. Picked this up from a garage sale for like $3. Sold it for $25 plus shipping. Picked up this Furby. It's from 2012 for $6 from a thrift store and sold it for $25 plus shipping. Paid $10 for this vintage 90s Cabela's workwear vest. It's insulated. It's a really good size, 3XL tall. Sold it for $30 plus shipping. Unfortunately, it's going all the way to Alaska, so probably going to lose a couple bucks on the shipping there, but still good overall. Paid $5 for this Vineyard Vines quarter zip from a thrift store and sold it for $20 plus shipping. Paid $9 for these vintage 90s Wrangler jeans from a thrift store and sold them for $30 plus shipping. This one took a while to sell. I think I have about $5 or $6 into both of these. They are these vintage Jack Toys sea creatures, and they have like motors in them. So you put them in the water and they like kind of swim around. Kind of interesting. Actually new in the box. So this took close to a year to sell, but I finally sold them for $65 plus shipping. And then finally, last item today, another sweater from that huge bundle I picked up months ago, but selling through them now that they are in season. Paid $4 for this vintage 90s. The brand is called Carvin Paris wool sweater and sold it for $35 plus shipping. So nice little day of sales. Let's get these packed up and I'll see you back here on Friday.
Time for thrift run number 2 this week. Clothing was half off today, so ended up getting this Levi's hooded denim jacket for $9 with comps around 30 to 35, and this Carhartt for only $5 with comps around 30. But again, my wife found what had to be the best item in the entire store. This is a piece of art glass from a maker called Blanco. Produced in the 1980s, we found similar pieces selling for between $300 and $1,000.
Good morning. Today is Friday, and since Wednesday, we've got 9 more things that have sold on eBay. And then later today, I am taking the game fund over to the game store and adding the very first game to the Operation Advance collection. So very excited to do that. Technically, I'm crossing a couple off already because I already owned those before the challenge started. Just a couple of the what I consider to be the top 50, or at least ones that I am excited to try and play. But for the most part, we are starting this from scratch. So I'm getting the very first game off of the collection today. As I mentioned at the start of the week, I'm only using 5% of the funds this time around instead of 10 because the store has grown quite a bit. What I actually, in hindsight, have decided to do was start the fund from zero because I have quite a bit of money rolling into this next challenge, and I think it would be a little bit more interesting and a little bit more challenging to just straight up start from zero. So that is what the game collection, like the game fund number is showing. But up first, let's jump into these 9 items. And up first, pick this copy of Spider-Man Web of Shadows for the Xbox 360 from a garage sale for $15. Sold it for $65 plus shipping. I've got a DVD VCR combo, paid $8 from a thrift store for this just last week. Sold it for $90 plus shipping. My wife picked this up at the thrift store earlier this week, and we sold it almost instantly within a day. Paid $7 for this 1980s. The brand is called, or the maker, I guess designer, is called Blanco. It is a 9-inch art glass bowl. She wins this week for sure. Sold it for $315 plus shipping. Very, very nice sale there. Sold another Power Rangers item from that estate sale. Probably have like $3 or $4 into this at the most. It is a 1998 Lost Galaxy Morpher. Sold it for $70 plus shipping. So next up, we've got this Philips Norelco one-blade shaver. I picked this up for $10 from a garage sale. I only picked it up because it was brand new sealed. You know, generally I have luck with these new sealed, like more recent items. Like even if you only make a few dollars profit, it's kind of worth the trouble because they're so easy to list. But sold that for $23 and free shipping. Picked up this 2001 Mattel Classic Baseball handheld electronic game. Paid $5 from a thrift store, I believe. It's been a while. This one's been listed for a long time. But finally sold it for $18 plus shipping. Sold another Power Rangers item from that estate sale. Again, this is part of like a huge lot, so it's hard to identify exactly like how much did I pay for this specific item. Kind of free because I've already sold so much from this, but I'm saying I have about $1 into it. It is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers line from 1993. So these are like the original plastic figures. He's 8 inches tall. What's special about this is that it has all the accessories. So normally when you find this, it's just the figure. This one has the chest and back plate, and we've got the sword, and we've got the gun. So I sold it very fast for $50 plus shipping. We've got another VCR. Picked this one up for $12 from a thrift store and sold it for $60 plus shipping. And finally today we've got this Xbox One 500 gigabyte console. Paid $40 from a thrift store for this and sold it for $80 plus shipping. Includes a controller, cables, and there was a loose copy of Halo 5 in it, so I just threw that in. And that is everything we've got today. Let's tally up our brand new game fund and hit the game store looking for some GBA games. Let's go. And with that, we generated $1,072 in profit after eBay fees and income tax. This is a huge milestone, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. But we're not done because we've also got $53 in the game fund, which means we're adding a game to the GBA collection this week. And for $13, we are adding a copy of NHL Hits 2003, putting us at 5 out of my top 50 Game Boy Advance games. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one.